Michael Kiely, who's two sides of a human coin, if you look at his cards. Michael Kiely is a consultant. He's been a doyen of marketing in this country for a long time, and it reads, "The source of every solution dwells in the field of infinite possibilities." That's his belief. And on the other side, he's the convener of the Carbon Coalition Against Global Warming, which is gory stuff, I might say. And in addition to that, he's a commentator on marketing. He was editor and executive editor of Marketing Magazine for over 20 years, won lots of awards, run his own business. I think Boomerang was one of them when I met you before. We've known each other for years. MD of Professional Interactive Media Management, a CRM outsourcing organisation. He has worked with clients such as one of ours, Macquarie Bank, Toyota, Lexus, Fuji, Health Insurance Commission, Australia Post, and the list goes on. He is rich in experience. Please welcome Michael Kiely.
I'm actually trepidatious about presenting this presentation because I've presented a form of it once at a marketing conference where I was expected to just give the latest advice on how to move stuff off the shelves. And I actually confronted the audience to think about their life and the meaning of their life in relation to their work. And it was a real risk. But I got an amazing response. People really are thinking about this issue. And I couldn't get out of the room after the presentation was over. So rather than just do a standard presentation with glib remarks about marketing, which there are so many to be made, I thought I'd talk about the Dharma and Karma of marketing. But before we do that, I'd like to do the ad. Oh gosh, what's happened? The logo's gone crazy. Next Tuesday, I'm launching a company called Carbon Credited Brands. And it's a service that helps a company identify the challenges and achieve carbon neutrality. And at the same time, bring all the stakeholder groups along so that it's an educational journey for the customers, the shareholders, the staff. Because everyone needs to know something is being done for them. People are looking for a lead. They're looking for leadership. And I think there's also some early mover advantage for companies that can say their products are carbon neutral. And carbon neutrality isn't difficult to achieve. We help the company become carbon neutral through a process of audit, adjustment and abatement. It's a very simple process. Stakeholder communications and share the journey. And yesterday I was in Canberra talking to a group of soil scientists and farmers. I actually live on a farm, and I got involved in the global warming challenge through the organisation I established called the Carbon Coalition to try and have carbon credits paid for soil carbon so that farmers would get some revenue from this gush of cash that's floating around the world chasing CO2. But the climate change question is the beautiful timing of all of this for my presentation. It really challenges us all to ask the question, how should I live my life? Finally, the bills arrived for all those products that we paid too little for because we'd never paid the carbon tax that we're now being asked to pay. And the text for today's sermon is this Hasidic saying. Being a wool grower for 7 years, you become very biblical and you see things in agrarian metaphor. When you walk across the fields with your mind pure and holy, then from all the stones and all growing things and all animals, the sparks of their soul come out and cling to you. And then they are purified and become a holy fire in you. Now this sounds absolutely bamboozling. But I hope by the end of my presentation it will mean something to you in terms of asking the question, how should I live my life? Karma. You all know about bad karma, instant karma. Our good and evil deeds follow us continually like shadows. Or as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Buddha said the first one and Christ said the second one. I'm a great believer in karma, even if it's only your consciousness of your own behaviour coming back to haunt you. Buddha believed in causality. Karma affects companies. A company's attitude to things becomes part of the atmosphere within which decisions are made. The atmosphere within which decisions are made lead to unethical behaviour. No one gets out of bed in the morning wanting to be unethical. They slip into it because of a lack of consciousness. Dharma. Dharma is the best story you can tell anyone. Because when you're in Dharma, Dharma means right action. The Hindus identify that as staying in your caste. But right action means choosing the right way of life for you, the right career, the right calling. Because when you find your Dharma, everything falls into place. The power of the universe pushes you along like a wave. Money worries disappear. Your passion, you're connected. The energy of the universe is flowing through you. All the lights go green. And so I challenge people, and it's a healthier way of life to live in Dharma. And these are the three questions that Ian Thorpe has been asking himself for the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And these are the three questions that we all ask ourselves eternally, although we're not conscious of it. But these are the three questions that if you get the answers to them, you will find life becomes joyous and blissful. Who am I? This is the existential question. What am I doing here? Who am I? God damn it, I can't be what I am. Surely that's not all there is. What do I want? Maslow said it is the greatest human achievement to know what you want. Do you know truly what you want? The goal you've set yourself for comfortable retirement, is that what you want? What you truly want? When you start inspecting your desires, you can sometimes find an empty pot and realise at the end of it that all the things you want are means. You haven't actually reached the end. And finally, what is my purpose in life? And you've got to realise this is a presentation developed for marketing people. I'm actually giving this presentation this evening at an advertising agency to the staff who are sponsored by Jamison's Irish Whiskey. So they're going to be in a really good mood when I roll this out. We're going to talk about ethics tonight. I wrote a song, and one of the lines of the song is that ethics is not a way of life, it's a course with poor attendance. All the business degrees have ethics in it, a course in ethics, don't they, that no one turns up to, that everyone plagiarises the assignments to try and get through. What is my purpose in life? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these be life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. This is the ruling doctrine of the Western world. The average incomes have more than doubled in the past 50 years, but people are no happier. In fact, happiness levels have been falling for the last 50 years. We're getting sadder as we get more successful. We have retail therapy. We have obsessive compulsive retail behaviour. There are 15% of shoppers who have got to be sedated. You know, marketing people are out there trying to drag them in. And the doctors are sticking injections in their arm, trying to slow them down. These people destroy their lives spending money they don't have because they've just got this junkie's need. Expectation inflation. This is why we're unhappy. We get what we want, but we always want something more. Our expectations continually rise. You know, we go to Anthony Robbins and our expectations go through the ceiling. And that really buggers you when you don't turn into a god and just drift off into the outer planetary. Psychologists are actually now saying that the self-improvement movement is actually bad for your health because it creates unrealistic expectations. In surveys all around the world, people, when you ask them, how much more money do you need to be comfortable? They all say around 10 to 15%. How can all of them say it? Because some of them have got it, or they've just arrived. Everyone wants 10 to 15% more. And yet we have an epidemic of loneliness in our society, an epidemic of depression. We have youth suicide. The opportunities that facing our youth are unbelievable, and yet some of them are killing themselves, and we don't know why, and we don't even know when it's about to happen. They don't tell anyone. Broken relationships. What were the last thoughts of Kerry Packer? I wished I'd made another 500 million. When he was surveying the dung heap of his life. The money he'd made, the people he'd crushed along the way. Or did he think, I wish I'd got to know Jamie better. I wish I'd spent more time with Roz. I don't know what he thought. But I just wonder how important that pile of dung or riches was to him in that last minute. And while I'm on it, I advise people to write their own obituary. The obituary they'd like to have written about them. Describe your life in terms of your contribution. And see what you get on the page. Very interesting window. This is when I talk to marketing people about the fact that people are more than a bunch of physical needs. They like brands as well. But this is what the highest state of human achievement is, self-actualization, actually growing, becoming better. This is my definition of marketing. It's a dynamic human activity that lies at the heart of modern consumer society and defines our relationships with each other and our institutions. It's more powerful in politics. It's more powerful in religion. In fact, it is a tool and a dominant structure. It is the dominant ideology of our community. You've only got to look around the room. There's marketing going on all around you. I did a little bit just before my presentation started. A society dominated by consumerism will operate according to the principles that make such a society possible. That's a contention. I have no proof of that. But I'll argue with you about it. So the highest state of marketing that we have achieved is relationship marketing, whereby we gather all this data and try and predict how to influence a person's behaviour. We talk about it in terms of loyalty, loving the customer, but we just love their money. We want that buck. You pointed it out. Do we do all this corporate responsibility stuff because it's good to do, or because it's good to do for profit? That's a good question. That's probably the most important question that could be asked here today. We're turning human beings into revenue streams. When we look at a customer database, we only think of their net present value. When they're ready to die, we don't care about them anymore. We put scores against them. We treat them differently. You've had experience with the airlines. You know how important you feel when you stop being a frequent flyer of such frequency. And they say, the value of you as a human being has declined in our eyes. They say it in so many ways. We look at humans as bundles of buying motivations. Well, I parted company with my former company, Boomerang, because my new partner, who bought a controlling interest, said, it's not personal, it's only business. Don't take it personally, it's not personal. Everything is personal. Business is personal. It's a lot of personal. A lot of persons personal. Relationships are seen as a means to an end. The most successful people in marketing, this is their concept. Even emotional relationships are exchanges of value governed by the principle of return on investment. That, I think, defines the modern marriage. When they start dividing it up and carving it up in the courtroom. What did you contribute? What did you contribute? How much were you worth? They're human beings. And this is what our society, not marketing, but our society has done to itself. Marketing's not such a bad thing. A market for emissions is the most efficient way of allocating resources to find solutions to the climate change issue. That's my belief. It will free up the resources we need to do the job. Marketing is a skill set, not an ideology. It can be used for good or evil. Now, you could say, if I said marketing and ethics in the same sentence in a certain company, you'd be roared at with laughter. Marketing can't be ethical. Marketing can be anything it likes to be. This is it. We're all individually responsible for what we do. Money is energy. One of my richest friends tells me money is energy. I think, gee, that's great. I can relax. I don't need to earn so much anymore. But money is energy. That's all it is. It's value free. It's the power to do something. It's stored value. I can do good things with it. I can do bad things with it. I can save people from poverty, or I can make people poor. Nothing happens until a sale is made. This is the truth. Our whole system is based on selling. If sales stopped tomorrow, we'd all be out in the street. There can be no welfare without wealth. Why is it that Pareto was able to say in every society that he studied, the Pareto principle applied? 20% of people had 80% of the resources. Wherever you go in any human society, it's always the same. Christ said, the poor are always with us. Why are they always with us? Because they just are. I don't understand that. So marketing's not bad, but sometimes the things we do in marketing can be bad. Convert the planet into product, buy it, use it, then throw it away. And that's the consciousness that's starting to change. People are starting to realise, all of a sudden, that only when the last tree has died and the last river been poisoned and the last fish has been caught will we realise we cannot eat money. There are some people in this society who think we don't need agriculture. We should turn all farms into natural resource parks. I don't know what we're going to eat. Profit reports. So the question arises, how should I live my life? In relation to what? No one likes to be told what to do. We're all independent individuals. So really this is a question I think everyone asks themselves, even if they're not conscious of the fact. In relation to myself, the most important thing that you can do with yourself is forgive yourself. Introduce yourself to yourself. That's the first thing you can do. But we won't worry about that. To other people, to my environment. And this is where we're moving into the linkage with the text for the homily. A pixel is not a picture. Now, a soil scientist will take a tiny little pixel, like a weed, and try a series of herbicides on it until he finds one that works. And then the chemical company will sell truckloads of that herbicide to farmers who'll spray it on those weeds. They don't know what the biological community they're destroying, what the role that weed is playing. It could be beneficial. They haven't thought the weed's just in the way. The pixel created 245D. Babies have been deformed by pixel thinking. Stand back and look at the picture. The ecology, the social ecology, the economic ecology, the complete system. And how does that pixel fit in? And then see how it relates. And we have a chap who's no longer with us who came up with a thing called the land ethic. And forgive me for using an environmental, a farming concept. But a land ethic is, Aldo Leopold said, one of the great moments of moral progress in society was when society finally rejected slavery. It decided that humans could not be property. This was a massive shift because we started to see all humans as part of the moral community. That was a dramatic shift. And we're in the middle of a similar shift, trying to find a way to think of our relation to the land as other than mere property. It's very difficult for farmers to put up with being told what to do with their property. But there's this concept of stewardship emerging. See yourself as part of the community of all living things in the biosphere. That's what Aldo calls the land ethic. Stop seeing yourself as something controlling something, but as something in relation, living with, in relationship with. So I can bust people in a business deal and think that that's all right and leave them in my wake. And it will not affect me, but it will. There can be no economy without ecology. We can't eat money. So what I'm talking about is not models and boxes with arrows. I'm talking about an individual choice. Corporate responsibility comes down to an individual choice to have a change of heart. Fundamentally, as marketers, we have to understand everyone is in pain. Everyone we deal with, everyone in this room is in pain. Everyone has a gap inside that we can't fill. It's part of the human condition. And the best thing we can do as marketers is to feel that pain. Because the closer we get to a person's consciousness, the more successful we'll be as marketers. Not being able to manipulate, but being able to respond to the needs of those people with compassion and empathy. Terrorism, war, pollution, poverty, disease are not caused by too much greed, fear and hatred. They're caused by a lack of love. Christ didn't say you don't make a profit. So the three questions that we all should be asking ourselves consciously, because we are asking ourselves subconsciously, and that little bell ringing far off in your consciousness is something inviting you to harmonise your life. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose in life? So when you walk across the fields with your mind pure and holy, then from all the stones and all growing things and all animals, the sparks of their souls come out and cling to you, and they are purified and become a holy fire in you. You feel part of the great community around you, and you live in Dharma. And as Alice B. Tolkien said to Gertrude Stein on her deathbed, what's the answer? And Gertrude Stein said, what's the question? And that's the answer. Now, I'm sorry if I haven't given you what you expected from me, but that's all I've got.
Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I think, judging by the responses in the room, from the laughter to the solemn silences to the, that was terrific. I'm just reminded, if I may just say, what do you want? I've mentioned I coach executives, and I had a tax partner, this would be sympathetic to the accountants in the room, who called me up and said, we've got a first session next week, Rob. What would you like me to do to prepare for the meeting? And I said, well, just think about this question. What do you want? Oh, I could see this expression on the face the other end of the line. And we spent 4 sessions working on that question, because I think it's a very important question you hear. Who am I? Which is another great question we posed yesterday. But what do you want? If you work out what you want as a business, as a company, as an individual, then there's a whole lot there, and there's a whole lot of thing about purpose. So I think that was a terrific presentation of ebb and flow of emotion, thought, and and humour. So thank you very much, Michael. Please thank him once again. And I'm going to open it up to you guys now to ask Michael any questions.
Just on the point of what do you want, I cornered a politician in Canberra yesterday, and a great opportunity to get my point across and get a question asked on the floor of Parliament. And he said to me, what do you want? And I didn't know what I wanted. I just wanted him to solve my problem. But he said, you've got to tell me what it is you want me to do. And when you're dealing with politicians, you've got to be ready with 3 very clear steps. And we don't, you sit down with a financial advisor and they really spend a lot of time asking you, what do you want? What does he want?
Michael, Peter Langford from Voice Project, Macquarie Uni. Do you really think Kerry Packer was unhappy on his deathbed? I wonder sometimes. I think there would have been enormous pride about that dung heap that he created during his life. Your thoughts?
Quite possibly Kerry is completely oblivious of any spirit of humanity apart from the piling up of endless memorials to his ego. You think of Bruno Grollo. Why does he have to build such tall buildings? Is he still trying to say to his father, look, I'm a success? What about that horrible American with the bad hair? Donald Trump. It strikes me that a person doing the things he's doing is appealing to someone in his past to praise him, because he never got praised. Because you don't need an empire. Caesar probably had a bad birth experience. But I believe when if you get the leisure while you're dying to actually think, and so many people don't, and you actually had that moment of reviewing your life, and you had a question that is that all there is? Did I do what I set out to do? I believe in it. I believe we're set here on earth to learn how to love each other and to be loved by each other. And everything we do, consciously or unconsciously, outside in society, in business and in every other sense, is related to that. I don't know why I believe that. I thought it was quite obvious why peace and wellness wasn't a major driver of passion. Because the passionate people are like the Marines. They want to be in the battle all day long. You've got to drag them off the field. That's why you have articles about balanced life, to convince the people who are making you wealthy to take a break or they're going to die. But it's good to have passionate people that you've got to nail to the floor to get them to slow down a bit. It's better than having a bunch of balanced lifestyle people who, I think I'll take the rest of the day off and play some golf. That was a great presentation. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I wore this especially for today because I'm in guru mode. I didn't really wear it to impress you. It's for the ad agency. They're very shallow people. Well, they're not shallow people. They just think they're shallow people. But they're going to be deep people after I've finished with them.
Can I just ask you, what do you make of corporate social responsibility?
I think it's a great idea. Companies have either got it or they haven't got it. Now, I've worked with 22 years with Toyota. It is a very ethical organisation. They had a person leave their organisation 2 weeks before the Bali bombing and was killed in the Bali bombing, but she lived for quite a long time before she died. They flew her family up. She'd left the company. They flew her family up and paid all their expenses for months and months and months while they sat by her bedside. And they flew her back and paid all the medical expenses. And that's just a simple... And they did it without thinking about it. And I've been in the guts of that organisation. I've seen them when they could have taken an unethical decision. And similarly with Macquarie Bank. Contrary to everyone's opinion, Macquarie Bank is a very ethical organisation. They just beat a lot of people. And so there's a lot of sour grapes.
Michael, did you always think like this, or were there some key turning points or aha moments that you'd be prepared to share with us that have led to your change of heart?
Let's see, I had a cancer, but I didn't really mind that I didn't even notice that I had it. I sort of got spat out of my organisation, largely because I couldn't stand the people I was working with, because they just appeared to be really two-dimensional. And I had a personal epiphany. I had a visionary experience which opened my eyes in an instant. It was visual, it was oral, it was pretty amazing, about my relationship with other people and my wife in particular. And I wrote a book about it. It's called Man Overboard, a self-defense course for men in marriage. But that, I don't know, maybe that, I just thought I'd run out of things to say about marketing, though I still write columns. There are other people that can say those things. I've got other things to say. I know that there are people who are thinking the things that I'm talking about and want answers. And it's much more fun dealing at that level. I think Haley's got a terrific business card. I'm probably just a reflection of my baby boomer roots. You know, I was a hippie in the late 60s, putting the heart back into business. You can do business with a good heart and you can do business with a bad heart. You can come out on top with both. But you're doing yourself a favour to do it with a good heart. Because when you win the other way, you don't really win. I don't know why, but you just don't. And for people to say, Kerry Packer, he who dies with the most toys wins, which is the cynical male sort of belief. I lay odds that if we were able to monitor his thought patterns, that we would have seen a sense of not devastation, but just a sense of unfulfillment. Not certainly in the material sense. Though he never did get as big as Rupert. Thanks very much. You've been very indulgent.
Yeah, the voice of humanity. Just on that point, you know, with giving people human value for who they are, not how and what they spend and all that sort of stuff. Has anybody read the book Blink? Yeah, because in that book they describe, the most successful salesperson in Ohio or somewhere who sold twice as many cars, and you talked about Toyota, twice as many cars as anybody else, and that the reason that they discovered the reason why this guy was selling twice as many cars as everybody else. Because when you walked on the floor, whoever you were, whether you were in tatty jeans and a torn T-shirt or you were in a smart corporate dress of some kind, he treated you exactly with equal value. He didn't do this qualified lead look, you know. Oh, student, no money. He treated everybody equally. That's how he did it. And that's, I think, a great lesson. I think that came out of your presentation. We must honour each other, or love even. So thank you very much once again, Michael. Please thank Michael Kiely.